Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Rise of the Podcast. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Kara.
And I'm Brownie. And today we're here to tell you everything that's great about Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
Woo!
The shortest title ever.
How does that compare to the other one? Well, A New Hope might be small, right? Attack of the Clones, A New Hope.
A New Hope is short.
Yeah, it's pretty short. But
Yeah.
Episode 2...
We're not there yet.
Yeah.
Spoiler
the
alert.
topic.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to get there.
So we sat down, we're doing a series of videos highlighting all the things that are great and all the things that are terrible about each of the films. This is, of course, we're emphasizing the great things about Episode 2. And I think, Jeremy, you should probably kick us off with our first great thing.
I said it once and I'll say it again. Star Wars does something really well, and that's ships and sounds. And we're just going to kind of lump those together because they go hand in hand. There's great sound effects throughout the entire movie, but there's ships in Episode 2. So we've got an introduction of the Jedi Starfighter. We have some awesome Slave One.
Slave One is the bomb.
So those two ships together, the sequence where they're flying around the asteroid field around Geonosis. Oh man, the Slave One is just insane. The amount of firepower he's launching.
Get him, Dad! Get him! Fire!
Blast! This is why I hate flying.
At
Obi-Wan.
I love the
bomb.
bomb. It's so good.
Let's take a second to enjoy that. Ready?
Seismic charges. Stand by.
So that's always something that Episode 2 did really well that we got invited.
Well, so then like I like the clone transport ships. Like you see them way later in the movie, but like
that's a really sought after Lego set.
I'd like to get it.
It's considered like a unicorn to some people. They've got I've kind of wanted to get one. I mean, it retails secondhand for about $100, but it wasn't that much coming in new.
Bad.
But it's an awesome ship because it's got the little like laser beam
side turrets,
and the way the doors open up and go back. It's a really,
the
really cool ship. right. It's an awesome ship. Was there any other ships that we missed?
Those are the ones that stand out the most to me.
Like
obviously.
as far as like airships, although are we going to consider like ground vehicles too?
Oh, the
ATTs.
The tanks are awesome.
Sick.
We have that Lego set.
We do. We built that. It's got old Rex in it. It's from the Rebel series. Super good. So yeah, I love the ATTs as well. And then in the Clone Wars, there's other ships, but that wasn't in Attack of the Clones. So
and there's one more ship that we see for the first time. Theoretically, if you watch in sequence, is the plans to the Death Star. So that was one of the things that I loved was the ships and stuff like that. So
I did too.
All right, Kara, what do you got?
Characters.
Oh, well.
Obviously.
Which
so
ones?
I love Jango Fett because Jango Fett was the donor of the DNA for the clones, and everybody knows I love me a clone.
Jango, welcome back. Was your trip productive?
Fairly.
So
yeah, Captain Rex's Mad Fly.
You know I love him. So yeah, Jango Fett specifically. Count Dooku. I mean,
pretty awesome.
Count Dooku
epic
is an
bad
amazing
guy,
character,
right?
Master Windu, how pleasant of you to join us. This party's over.
He released a heavy metal album after he was in Star Wars.
After?
Yeah.
Yes.
After?
Yeah, he was 80 years old. It had something to do with King Charlemagne.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go up to
Okay,
listen to this
Christopher
after
Lee is
that.
awesome.
Yeah.
Sir Christopher Lee, thank you.
Yeah,
That's
certified
super cool.
badass.
That is
So
super
he's
cool.
awesome. C-3PO, we actually get to see him put
We
together.
get to see him a little bit more. Some
kind
of his parts are CGI, but they're really funny. I love the he's got the robot head and he's like, die, sucker, die, Jedi, die.
Right?
Die, Jedi gods! What did I say?
Like, wait, did I just say that?
And Anthony Daniels just does another fantastic job at his voice. Just couldn't be the character without him.
A battle! Oh, there's been some terrible mistake. I'm programmed for etiquette, not destruction.
No, I totally agree.
And then, yeah.
I'm gonna add in that they used Palpatine the exact right amount in this movie.
yes, a
So,
you get-
good Palpatine,
Opposite
not like,
of episode
I'm
1.
Senator.
Yeah. Whereas
Less
like
politics.
yeah, so you got to see him really starting to start to pull some strings.
Yes.
So granted they did have to rely on some of the stuff that they had to put into episode 1 to make that work, but this is the level at which you see the manipulation really starting to take place with the clone army and all the stuff that's happening on Geonosis and all that. Oh, it's so
Yeah.
good.
What's interesting about that too is we see Maul get cut in half in Phantom Menace, but that's right. It's been 10 years between the Phantom Menace and the Clone Wars in Star Wars time, so he did have enough time to find Dooku and twist him.
Take him from the Jedi and
It would be fun to kind of have a Dooku backstory. Now, is the Dooku book kind of his backstory, or is it his time with the Separatists?
That's his time with the Separatists.
Okay, it would be fun to see a Dooku backstory. Where did they find him? Well, so he was
Yoda's
Padawan,
Yes.
which is awesome.
Yeah, so it'd be awesome to see a little bit of that kind of stuff going on. So I'd like to see that in the future. You got that, Lucasfilms?
Yes.
Just add it to their list of
Right?
stuff
Just
that
add
they
it,
need to do.
please. So that's what I've got for characters. I don't know what you guys got.
So I think that wraps up the characters. I'm going to dovetail some of what Jeremy said about C-3PO. And there's some legitimately good comedic moments in here. They
Yes.
break up.
Absolutely is.
They just sort of spice them in just the right amount to sort of give you a release from the tension of the plot of the film.
Yeah.
In particular, the C-3PO bit. So in addition to him becoming merged into a battle
Obi-Wan,
droid. So then when R2's trying to put him together, he has some pretty funny puns.
Oh my
When he's
goodness. Let's take a look at some of those puns here.
Yeah.
We'll roll some of those
Okay,
puns.
What are you doing? Oh, stop that! You're going to strain something. My leg! Oh, now where are you taking me? Oh, this is such a drag.
Oh my God, we're goons.
Oh my god, like such a drag. I mean, it's just too funny. And I'm beside myself. It's so good. So yeah, 3PO's jokes are really good.
So yeah, and then Jeremy mentioned Obi-Wan and Yoda have a couple of nice little exchanges in there. It's just there's, in addition to all the other great Star Wars things, there's a nice little bit of comedic relief for you.
And one of the things I think is hilarious, and I mentioned it earlier, when Anakin and Obi-Wan are talking, and Obi-Wan looks at Anakin and he's like,
Why do I get the feeling you're going to be the death of me?
Don't say that, Master.
why do I get the feeling you're going to be the death of me?
Oh, that pun is hilarious.
It's like foreshadowing much.
No, absolutely. And there's some other stuff that's foreshadowed too. Speaking about that, another character too that is a meme to us, but not a lot of people. So you get to meet Poggle the Lesser.
You get to meet Poggle the Lesser.
the most obscure character ever.
So now that we can actually point him out in a podcast, Chris and I casually mentioned Poggle the Lesser, and Chris is like, you guys are going off the deep end into who Star Wars is, but you get to see some Poggle in episôt 2.
Well,
And he has the Death Star plan.
He's the one who has the Death Star plans.
Yes, and you brought that up earlier.
Yep.
But you knew who Wat Tambor was, though, didn't you?
Nope.
Oh, you didn't. I thought when we were watching, you're like, oh, that's Wat, or was that you who said,
That was
oh,
me.
there's Wat Tambor? Okay, never mind.
But
If somebody mentions anything EU, it wasn't me.
Wat Tambor's creepy looking. He's got a little cone head.
But so yeah, the characters are great.
But then, in addition to the characters which help build the universe, the physical universe itself, the places we get to go to and see. So obviously, earlier on in the film, you get a little bit of expansion of Coruscant, but then we revisit Naboo, Tatooine, and then we get to see Kamino, where the clones are made, the ocean planet.
Yes.
And it's sick.
Well, I love how the outside, it's all dark and creepy and choppy, and then you get inside and it's just clean.
Yeah,
And it's just like night and day difference.
The Kaminoans rose up from the water and
Do you
created
say Kaminoans? What
well,
did you say?
The people from Kamino.
Kaminoans?
Kara's an expert on Kaminoans over here, but they rose up.
Well,
from
she's the
water.
same height as them.
Oh, there you go. And they made this beautiful, well together society.
Well, it's
clean, put together, very medically feels
Right.
hygienic.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun because we do the one scene in the
music video.
the music video
Oh, yeah,
where
yeah.
I'm in that white hallway. It kind of looks like
Yeah, it's sort of,
Camino.
yeah, Camino-y.
Yeah, very Camino-y.
So,
Then, of course, Geonosis.
I love
Yes.
Geonosis. The fight scenes on Geonosis are just awesome. The red of Geonosis.
That's a thing, too. Like, the colors of the places, like, they're visually distinct. So, like...
Yeah.
Like Naboo is like they go to a couple of places, but it's like lush green, whatever.
Right.
very
Coruscant,
vivid.
Coruscant's very like blue and gray, like
Yeah.
very city industrial stuff.
Right.
Tatooine, big brown dust planet.
Yep.
And then Geonos just like reds, like
Red.
almost like just like hazy brown, yellow
Like
sky.
Mars would be, I would imagine.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
like the desaturated Mars.
Right.
So just all the and that's the thing. This is sort of a side tangent, but I don't know if you guys have ever seen. They'll do like color lines of the different like shots in a movie.
Yeah.
I have seen
So, like,
like
and,
an
like,
infographic
yeah.
or a, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like each different shot is just like a 1 pixel wide like stripe of the
Yep.
dominant color
Color in
of
that scene.
that shot. And then you just put them all left to right from beginning to the end of the movie, and you get some really cool looking stuff. And and you can sort of see like the mood of Star Wars or whatever
Right.
film. But Star Wars is very good at like sort of like plotting through with the color of the environments,
Right.
what the action of the scene is. That's really cool too.
Well,
It is really
and
cool.
if you think about it, each planet would have its own. Like even if you look at the planets in our system, not everything else, has the same atmosphere as Earth.
Yeah.
Like you said, Mars is red. Jupiter is going to be like
Well,
whatever.
pure gas and
Yeah, so yeah,
Just like Jeremy.
I can attest to
but,
that. Yes.
Venus and Mercury. Mercury is like a dried up ball, and
Right.
because it's so close to the sun. And it's fun for me because again, when these movies came out, we have something now we didn't have before, and that's awesome new environments for people to expand on and world build on.
Yeah, it just makes it feel bigger and fuller.
Yes.
And like and some other things too that are sort of tied into that universe thing. So Kara again brought up that the costumes are on point and they add so much more flavor and texture to this universe. So not only in breadth but depth, we're getting these expansions and things, and just like everything just looks so fantastic.
Well, and something I've noticed about the costumes, a lot of girls cosplay Phantom Menace Padme, but there aren't a lot of Attack of the Clones Padme
There
cosplays.
isn't. There's not as many costumes.
Are you kidding me? She's got like 5 billion in Phantom Menace. She wears what, 3? She wears the black one.
She's got
beginning.
No,
she's got like
she's got-
6 in
she's
the
got
first
quite a
one.
few.
I think in the previous video I used 6 different shots of her.
Okay. But in this one, she's got the very first one in Palpatine's room. She's got the one on Tatooine. She's got her sexy hand.
I think she wears like 3 on Naboo.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
She's got the
Yeah,
one.
I
where
forgot about the
she's-
Naboo scene.
The wedding scene at the end.
The wedding
Yeah,
scene.
okay,
She's got
alright,
the
yeah.
sunset one, the one on out having
one
the
that's
picnic,
predominantly overused,
the
though, is,
scratch one. She's got
yeah.
a lot.
Yeah,
in
the-
this
The
one.
scratch one's the predominant.
Yeah, the straight white
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I was kind of blown away how many costumes she had, and I was paying attention to the quality, and like they do a legit job.
Oh, yeah.
Like her veil in the wedding one, it's like somebody went and tatted the whole entire thing, like the think doily,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But then they went and they like put pearls all over it. It's
The attention to
intense.
detail. Star Wars does that well, all the way from Galaxy's Edge
Yeah.
to the movies. It just so much attention to detail that really helps sell
Yeah.
it.
Absolutely. And then
I didn't mean to go off on that tangent.
yeah, no, I think that was absolutely that's the great thing about these movies. There's different things that different people really resonate and connect with.
Right.
For me, it's costumes.
So like for someone like Jeremy or I, like just like the overall like the cinematic qualities of it too. Like so overall like from episode 1 to episode 2, you could tell they upped their game in terms of
Yes.
whatever the technology was that they were using to
Right.
actually create the movie. So like they like Star Wars always feels like a Star Wars film. It's like it's big, it's expansive.
Yep.
There's all this stuff, but like just like the cinematography and then the technology used to actually capture the images, like the CGI is way better.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Like the renderings of everything just looks so much better, and it's like it's
Watto
really
looked better.
appreciable. Yes,
Watto,
even
yeah.
though his beard looked worse.
His beard is so creepy. It's just like.
I always hear the little flapping whenever we talk about Watto, but
you could tell Watto's on harder times.
He doesn't have any slaves anymore. Come on.
yeah.
But yeah, that's just there's just so many fun little detail things. I think we're almost down to the last thing, which is the thing that the cornerstone tenet of a Star Wars film are the fight scenes.
They knock it out of the park in episode 2. One of the favorite parts for me is when you start to see all hope is lost. The 3 main heroes are down in the arena, down in Geonosis, and Mace and then Yoda and the clones all show up to help. But even just before that, when the Jedi are there and getting outnumbered at first, you see all the lightsabers start popping in the crowd. The Genosians flood and fill the sky. You get the fluttering of like the insect effect, and then everything just goes to heaven.
It's like the first big scale lightsaber heavy conflict we get, and it's just like.
Brave, but foolish, my old Jedi friend.
So like the contrast of like the beautiful vibrant colors of the lightsabers against like the dirty dusty red brown,
right?
Like it all looks so great, and then like
so good.
You know, you get to see Mace Windu just be
fight
awesome.
His action sequence is incredible. I think the Boba or the Jango Fett Mace Windu, you said it, but I agree 100%. The timing was perfect. It wasn't too long. It wasn't drawn out. There was a nice little action scene between them, and then it's over. And Jango meets his fate with Mace.
Poor little Boba. You see him in the corner like...
That'd be pretty traumatic.
It would be. Can you imagine seeing your dad's head gone?
Right.
I would not be a fan of that happening.
No.
Neither was Boba Fett.
Clearly. But, watch Clone Wars.
Right. And then, so you have that big battle of Geonosis. You were talking about the clone ships that come in.
Around the survivors, a perimeter create.
Yeah,
Yoda
like all hope is
in.
lost for even the Jedis.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden the clones come in and they kick Geonosian butt.
Yes, and they get dropped in, and it's just all out Star Wars battle. It reminds me of, like the big fight scenes, and you got Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. You have this big Star Wars scale fight scene now. You've got clones with tanks and just droid armies all over the place.
Well, it's like three combatant parties. You have like the Geonosians, you have the clones, and you have the droids.
Yes.
And it's just like, and all three different, and they're all tuned. They have their very specific things about them that helps make them distinguishable. So even though there's a lot of stuff happening, that's never confusing about what you're looking at. It's super cool.
Yep.
And of course, all this builds up
to the confrontation between Dooku, Anakin, Kenobi, and then eventually Yoda.
Brave of you, boy. But I would have thought you had learned your lesson.
I am a slow learner.
And that fight scene is fantastic.
Again, paced perfectly. It's not drawn out. There's tons of really cool action.
The fun little fight scene that I love is how it's the first time we see a Force lightning stopped by a lightsaber.
Yes.
And it looks so good.
Yep.
Gives Obi-Wan a little bit of the, badassery. in the scene. I know, I didn't say bad buttery. But it just makes him look competent.
Oh yeah. Oh, and then you see Yoda straight up just catch the
Just like,
Force lightning
not
too.
today, son.
So not only do you see it just like stopped by somebody wielding a lightsaber, then you see
Yeah.
it stopped by somebody who's just that strong with the Force.
Much to learn, you still have.
That reminds me of the classic wisdom trope of the world, and Yoda is just this old wise person. So you've got the young guys who've come up with new ways to deal with old problems or whatever, but you've got Yoda who is just straight up knowledge is what helps him, or mastery of the Force helps him in his
Well, he's
defense.
what? How old is he?
900 and
Well, so he'd
Strikes
be
Back.
so he'd be in his 800s somewhere.
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous. He's had time to perfect the Force.
Yes. And so that's super awesome. And then I just remember seeing that movie originally. That's the scene that sticks out to me in my head from 2003 or 2002. It's 2002. That's the scene that stuck out to me, was that fight scene. I think the theater lit up back in the day when we saw Yoda go bouncing around fighting Dooku with a lightsaber.
But well you have, my old Padawan.
This is just the beginning.
These are just some of the reasons why we think that this movie is such a great watch, and you should go back and rewatch it.
Yeah.
So thank you for watching this video. If you like it, go ahead and put a thumbs up on it. It shows that you're supporting what we're doing and you want to see more content like this. If you're interested in all of the things that we're doing, consider subscribing so you can come back and check out all the different things that we're trying to make here. It means a lot to us. If you're really interested in all the stuff we're doing and you don't want to miss anything, ring the notification bell. It'll give you a notification of every time we upload something. And of course, comment below with the things that you thought made this movie great. It really there's so much stuff that we couldn't cover all of it here. These are just the big standout things to us, but we know there's a lot more. Let us know below. It means a lot to us. And of course,
May the Force be with you.